So we have some heads-up action going on table 2. Our opponent seems fairly passive, so we'll just try and adjust accordingly. Obviously, value bet the straight that we turn. Okay, we get called and the river completes a flush. Okay, so obviously now we're just checking and hoping that he checks back whatever he called with. And we get value bet, which is obviously not a good thing. I consider folding here, which is definitely standard, but end up being curious and running to quads. So it's a great start for the video. Okay. Next hand, I just decide not to open with my trash. Junky hand again, but luckily we get to see the flop. Flop bottom pair on a connecting board, standard check fold. Okay, we pick up a non-nut gutter on the turn, helps a little bit, and get to see the river, which completes a straight for us. Okay, so again, I think it's perfectly fine to be value betting here. He might very well call us with 2 pair, but turns out he wasn't interested. Okay, so let's see what's going on table 4. We make a standard open with a pretty nice hand on the button and get flatted by the big blind. Flop is not so nice. I mean, there's a lot of ways we can still improve going into the turn. Which is what ends up happening. Okay, so we decide to value bet our aces up and double gutter and get check raised. So this is kind of an interesting spot. So far, our opponent has shown virtually no aggression. His aggression factor after 57 hands is 0.8. Okay, granted it's a fairly small sample, but while I would generally call this raise against most players and see how they react to the river, in this particular case, I think it's a little too paranoid to assume that we're getting run over by this particular villain, and thus I decide to give up in this hand. Okay, so on table 2, it's a fairly standard check back on the flop with middle set. We get led into for half pot, obviously not going anywhere. And the board pairs on the river. Okay, our opponent checks to us. We naturally value bet the full house. And don't get any action. Okay, so I guess it's fair to assume our opponent was either value betting a small flush on the turn that he decided to give up on the river, or he was simply stabbing